What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Justin, and today we're going to be working on the Dart. We're going to be bringing her right around to the 21st century, and to do that, I have partnered with Aces Fuel Injection. I'm going to be installing their Royal Flush Master Kit on the car. Included in their Master Kit, I have their 1000 CFM throttle body equipped with 400 pound-an-hour fuel injectors. It's got an integrated throttle position sensor, an integrated idle air control valve. It's got an integrated 3-bar map sensor. If you want to run this on a boosted application, it's boost capable. This will support up to 650 horsepower naturally aspirated. It'll do way more than this car will ever need. Next up, we have our Blackjack Pro distributor. This is a billet body distributor that we are going to be locking out mechanically and let our computer completely control our timing. Accompanied with that is going to be our 50,000 volts Blackjack Pro Series coil, and to go along with it, we got some Aces own ceramic booted spark plug wires. Controlling our ignition and our fuel, we have our Royal Flush ECU. This rig has an integrated CDI box in it. To make on-the-fly adjustments and view all of our sensor data, we have a 7-inch display. With this, we can data log, we can view all of our sensors, we can make tuning adjustments. It's got a built-in GPS speedometer, really handy unit. Tying everything together, we have our wiring harness. It's really well loomed and well labeled. Everything is weather pack connected. It has integrated fuses and relays. It's a plug and play deal with a 4-wire hookup. Feeding the fuel for our EFI system, I have Aces 255 liter per hour tight fit in-tank fuel pump module kit. To tie our fuel system together, I have 40 foot of PTFE hose, which comes with necessary 6AN fittings. And to regulate it all, I have their billet-bodied fuel pressure regulator. Before we get started installing anything, we're going to do some preliminary checks to look over the health of the vehicle. First, we're going to do a quick visual inspection. We're going to look over and see if we see any broken or damaged wires. We're going to see if we have any broken or degraded vacuum lines. Next, we'll move on. We need to check the health of the engine. Make sure it has good, adequate compression. We'll do a quick compression test. Make sure that we have healthy compression numbers. Then we'll check for excessive blow-by. You don't want to install an EFI system on a damaged engine that's burning a lot of oil. Next, we're going to check for good clean grounds from battery to chassis and from battery straight to the engine. Another thing we're going to look at is our fuel system. We want to make sure there's no trash floating around in the fuel system. We want to make sure we don't have any broken or leaky fuel lines. Lastly, we're going to make sure we have a good, healthy battery and a properly functioning charging system. And with all that checked over, we're ready to install our fuel system. So first thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to drop this old fuel tank to prepare for our new in-tank fuel pump setup. All right, so we've got our old fuel tank dropped out of the car. At this point, we would be inspecting the tank, making sure it's in good condition. We'd be cleaning it up, fumigating it, and getting ready to install our Aces tight fit in-tank pump setup. However, I took the easy route and I bought a brand new Tanks Inc. baffled EFI tank specifically for this car. Aces designed their slim fit fuel pump assembly to bolt right into these Tanks Inc. tanks. So all I've got to do is measure my depth, get it cut and assembled, and drop it in. Before we can go put this pump in the tank, we need to take a couple of preliminary measurements. So we're needing to measure our tank depth, which comes out to right at 8 inches. I'll go ahead and make a note here. It says 8 inches. And then it's pretty simple on this side of things. We're just going to measure down from the bottom of the hat. And we're going to want this entire assembly, once it's assembled, to measure around 8 inches, maybe a 1/4 inch less, from the bottom of the hat to the bottom of the stock. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'll check back with you in a minute. All right, we've got our assembly cut to length. We have our pump installed and secured to the metal support on the assembly. We have our return tube set to the proper depth, and I have my pre-filter stuck on the bottom of the pump. Now we're ready to install the assembly. In this case, I'm going to be using the supplied mounting gasket that comes with my Tanks Inc. tank. However, if you're wanting to install this pump assembly on your old fuel tank, Aces has already thought ahead of that. They provide with the pump a universal mounting kit that comes with this lock ring and provided studs and an extra thick mounting gasket to conform to any application. So in case I need to drop the tank in the future, I've gone ahead and made extensions for my fuel feed and return, as well as my wiring harness. I made my fuel extensions out of the supplied PTFE and 6AN fittings provided in the Aces kit. Keep watching, and later in the video, I'll show you how to assemble these PTFE lines. With that being said, we're ready to install the tank in the car. So we've got our fuel tank installed, and I gotta say, I'm really liking this Aces stuff so far. If you want to try any Aces products out on your own vehicle, go to acesefi.com and be sure to use code DARTCREW10 at checkout to get an extra 10% off your order. Well, anyway, I'm ready to get this thing running, so let's keep at it. The next major component of our fuel system is our fuel lines. This car was equipped from the factory with a 5/16 speed returnless style fuel system. I'm going to be running this kit as a full return style system. The Aces kit requires a minimum of a 3/8 speed line, and you always want your return line to be as big, if not bigger, than your feed line to prevent any return side restrictions. I chose the easy button and purchased 2 pre-bent 3/8 fuel lines specifically for this car. Ideally, I'm going to pull my 5/16 lines right out, slide these right into place. Let's get these installed. So far, we have our old 5/16 fuel lines off, and we've added our new, bigger feed line, and we've added a return line. I've got my old fuel tank out. We have our new fuel tank installed with our Aces intake pump set up. Now we're ready to pull this old 750 carburetor off and install our new 1000 CFM throttle body. Before we install our throttle body, we need to put our base gasket on, and you want to be sure that you're using Aces supplied throttle body base gasket. You can see a notch here and a notch there. One's for the idle air control valve, the other's for the map sensor. With the base gasket installed, we're ready to drop our throttle body in place. Provided in the kit is this adjustable throttle bracket. It has provisions for a throttle cable, a detent cable, and adjustable return spring. It has all the adjustments you would ever need for any application. Now in my application, I'm not running a detent cable because I'm running a manual transmission. So with this throttle bracket and 4 nuts, our throttle body should be installed. I've gone ahead off camera and mounted my fuel pressure regulator here on the firewall. It's centrally located between my fuel return hardline and my throttle body. It's also mounted up high, away from heat, and it's easily accessible. I already have my Aces fuel pressure sensor installed directly to the regulator. Now all that's left is tying the whole fuel system together with PTFE line. When we're talking about PTFE lines, what we're talking about is polytetrafluoroethylene. PTFE is Teflon. It does a really good job at holding up to the stresses of a fuel system, and it lasts a really long time. This line has a Teflon inner liner wrapped in a steel braiding. Due to the design of this, we have to take extra care in assembling these lines, so let me show you how to do that. We're going to be installing 6AN fittings on our PTFE line. Before you can install the fittings on the line, we need a couple of tools. First, we're going to need some way to get a good clean cut on the line. In this case, I'm using this cutoff wheel. Next, we have an adjustable AN soft jaw wrench I picked up from AcesEFI.com. However, for demonstration purposes, I'm just going to be using two old school boxed in wrenches. In this case, we have an 11/16 and a 3/4. Next up, I'm going to have a small flat blade screwdriver. Lastly, I have some masking tape, some way to mark it, and a razor blade. So I went online and picked up a 3/8 steel to 6AN adapter fitting, and then our throttle body is a 6AN fitting here. So the first thing we're going to be doing is we're going to determine our line length. We're going to take apart our AN fitting. Don't lose the little knurl in there. I'm going to mock our fitting up. I determined here that I think the 90 is going to be the best way to go. Down here, it'll just be a straight fitting. Next, I have a small section of line that's a little bigger than what I'm going to be working with, but it's a lot less than working with the whole roll. So I'm going to go ahead and slide my line onto the nipple and route it approximately how I want it. That looks good to me here. So next, I'll take some tape and I'll wrap in this approximate area, going a little farther downstream and upstream to give me some room to cut. Next, we'll take our marker and mark just exactly where we're going to want our line to end. Somewhere about there will work just fine. So the reason we wrap these lines in masking tape before we cut them is to keep our steel braiding from fraying too far. After we get the line cut, we're going to have to put this fitting on the line, and the tighter we can keep our steel braiding, the easier it is to force the fitting on. It's absolutely critical that you cut it as straight as you possibly can. So now that our line is cut, we're going to use our razor blade to go around and deburr the Teflon to remove any imperfections. Be sure not to gouge the Teflon lining. Next, we're going to use some compressed air to blow any debris out of our line. You don't want any particulates to get into your fuel system and potentially clog your fuel injectors. Now that our line is cut, deburred, and cleaned out, we can remove our tape and install our fittings. So now that our fittings are on, we're going to find our flat blade screwdriver and our knurls. We're going to take our flat blade screwdriver and gently pry around the Teflon and the steel braided lining to open it up to make room for our knurls. Now that we have our steel braiding pulled back, we're going to take our knurl and go over the Teflon and under the steel braiding. It can be difficult at times. Just keep working towards it, and eventually you'll get it down to the stop on the shoulder. To confirm that it's fully seated, I'm going to press against a hard object and then ensure that the Teflon has met the shoulder of the knurl. Now that our knurl is fully seated, we're going to insert our barb end of the fitting into the Teflon line. Can be difficult sometimes. Next, we're going to slide our nut up to meet our fitting. This is where an adjustable AN wrench comes in handy, paired with a soft jaw vise. However, for this video, I'm just going to be using two boxed in wrenches. Once they're tightened down, there should be about a 1 millimeter gap. And with that, we've installed our 6AN fitting on this PTFE line. I'm going to get the rest knocked out and get them installed. So we just finished up installing our fuel lines. So let's recap what we've done today. We overviewed our Aces Royal Flush EFI Master Kit. We went over a short checklist of things to note before installing an EFI system in your own car, and we installed our fuel system. Putting together our new fuel system was as simple as installing our new Aces Slim Fit fuel pump module in our new fuel tank, running our new 3/8 feed and return lines coupled to our supplied PTFE hose and 6AN fittings. We topped it off with our Royal Flush throttle body and our billet fuel pressure regulator. If you're interested in purchasing your own Royal Flush Master Kit or any other Aces products such as 2 and 4 barrel throttle bodies, multi-port injection systems, LS swap harnesses, and LS manifolds, they support a wide range of manufacturers like Chevrolet, Ford, Dodge, and even some less common vehicles like International. They offer a full range of ignition products as well. Go to acesefi.com and pick up a system for yourself to get started. Be sure to use my code DARTCREW10 at checkout for an extra 10% off your order. Stay tuned for next video where we'll install our ignition system, our Royal Flush ECU, our handheld, and our wiring harness. I want to give a special thanks to Aces for allowing me to put their system on this car, and a special thanks to you for watching along. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments section down below. I'll do my best to answer them all. That's all for me. I appreciate you guys for watching. We'll see you next time.